Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Season 4 of Uncaged. We are at the halfway point, folks. Episode 6 of Uncaged. We're more than halfway there. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me, as always, is my boy DC, Daniel Crimmins. Daniel, we watching some pay-per-views, man.
One of the worst fucking pay-per-views I have ever seen in my life, and I'm the guy that watched all 40 WrestleManias.
Well, we watched December to Dismember, but this holds up.
It ain't saying much. It ain't saying much.
It's not saying much. It's better than that, but it's still really bad.
Not that much.
Well, I figured we'd do this because we just had the Great American Bash, the 2 parts on NXT, not too long ago, which that was really good with Wesley turning heel, Roxanne Perez, and Thea Hale. Go watch that. But what we watched was the first ever Great American Bash of the WWE era, Great American Bash 2004, highlighted by Eddie Guerrero and JBL in the Texas Bull Rope match for the WWE Championship, and The Undertaker and the Dudley Boys on the Concrete Crypt.
Which, again, was one of the worst. You have the Undertaker turning heel, but not
really. We're going to get into it, but I have to ask before we really, because I have some notes, and I'm sure you have yours as well. I have to ask you, Mr. Daniel Crimmins.
I got the tablet right here.
The tablet right here. Okay. So I have to ask you, Mr. Daniel Crimmins. So this is the first Great American Bash that WWE did after 4 years after Great American Bash 2000, the Vince Russo shoot, Booker T and Jeff Jarrett, Hulk Hogan dropping the title down, the whole nine. What were your thoughts on
Bash at the Beach 2000?
Yeah, what did I say? Bash at the Beach, Great American Bash. I'm sorry, that was Bash at the Beach. Thank you. So Great American Bash 2000, the last one there, that was Hulk Hogan and Billy Kidman. Thank you for correcting me. Yes, Hulk Hogan and Billy Kidman, and now
Hulk Hogan.
And friggin' Hogan gets the chair shot from Eric Bischoff, and he so clearly blades before he does it. Oh my god!
And you can clearly see the blade.
You can clearly see the blade. Oh boy! Yeah. So now Bash at the Beach. Can I just say what was with that? By the way, let me just put that to the forefront. That you corrected me. How many Bash at the Beach, Great American Bash? What the hell's the difference? If it's like American Bash at the Beach.
So Great American Bash was typically in June.
Yes.
It's usually towards the end of June. There were some really good Great American Bashes, which maybe that's something that we can do for a future episode next season.
Yes.
We had. There was one of my favorites was actually, it was either 96 or 97. I can't remember exactly which, but it was a Falls Count Anywhere match with that guy that we don't mention, whose initials are CB.
Yes.
Taking on the late, great Kevin Sullivan in a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Is that the one where they go into the bathroom and Dusty Rhodes is like, hey, that guy's peeing?
And then they went into the ladies' room.
Yes, I remember that. That was 97. I remember that.
Dusty Rhodes' commentary was golden.
It was. And rest in peace, Kevin Sullivan, who just passed away. And I got to give a shout out to Lexus King for pretty much giving a tribute to both his father and Kevin Sullivan. I respect you, Book a Man.
Gotta love it. But we also had the infamous segment where Eric Bischoff was interviewing Hall and Nash, and he gets powerbombed through the stage.
And then Tony Khan tried to recreate the punch to the gut that Scott Hall gave Eric Bischoff, but Tony took a flat back bump instead of kneeling over like Eric Bischoff.
I still think it's going to end up with him turning heel.
Oh, Tony Khan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree too. It's so, well, what are they even doing now on the sidebar? Like, Christopher Daniels is like, I just got this word from Tony Khan, but we've seen Tony Khan on TV, and Christopher Daniels is trying to do his best Adam Pearce, and then the Young Bucks, it's really not going anywhere. Like, what the fuck are we doing now?
It's just another bald authority figure.
That's exactly what it is.
He probably looks and says, you're bald, you'll do.
Adam, freaking Christopher Daniels, go out there, Chris.
Oh,
hey, you'll be Adam Pearce. So we go from the bench.
Another sidebar. I gotta love it how serious they're taking this whole GM thing. Like Adam Pearce posting on Twitter or X on the weekend saying, "Breaking news! I have just signed for Monday Night Raw." Like, that's nice.
It is. I like how they're taking it like really seriously. Like him and Nick Aldis are doing their roles justice.
Which, honestly, Survivor Series, give me Nick Aldis versus Adam Pearce.
The GM versus GM.
Aldis should be good to go. He said he had like a shoulder or a pec injury or some kind of injury. He should be good then. Pearce has said he always stays ready to go. Like, let's go. Let's do it.
I'm here for it, and I also look at it like this, man. Like we've never seen them, both former NWA champions. They've been all over the world. We've never seen it WWE. Let's go.
Well, we did get Adam Pearce versus Roman Reigns.
Adam Pearce and Paul Heyman. Yes, we did. Technically speaking, yes. Oh boy.
But honestly, I think that's something you could do. And that's. But honestly, we've had some really great American bashes. I like that they're doing it with NXT, that they're giving NXT the WCW pay-per-views, which, NXT was Dusty's thing, and to me, it's a nice nod.
Agreed, and I think with what they did with the 2 weeks that we had, I mean, like I mentioned, Wesley and Roxanne and Thea, everybody killed it. Like these last 2 weeks of the Great American Bash were excellent, man.
Ethan Page is the champion. At first I was sort of like, he just got there.
Yeah.
But you know what? The way he won it, if you want to get a heel over, what a heel way.
Yes, I know. How he just falls on poor Javon Evans. And I mean, now him and Ora Mensa just did their thing at the show. Like, I really did enjoy that match too.
Yeah, that was fun. And honestly, Ova Femi's another guy who's going to be a huge star.
I'm here for Oba Femi and Tony D coming up for that. No, I'm here for that. I am here for that.
Just give me more. Give me more.
Well, that's the problem. Like we talk about Lashley saying what he said about, WWE, like Bobby, they got Oba Femi. They got Oba Femi. Like Bobby.
As I said, it's a young person's sport.
Yep.
You got to invest in guys that are going to be with the company for another 10, 15, 20 years. I'm sorry, I like Lashley, but dude, you don't have that.
He doesn't. And I mean, he's done and everybody's like they dropped the ball. No. His second run in WWE was way better than his run from 2005 to 2006.
Intercontinental champion, multiple time United States champion, 2-time WWE champion.
Yep. Like what else do you want?
Like how many WWE title runs did you have in your first time?
When he was in the first run, he was the U.S. champion, the ECW champion.
That's all.
And he had the Umaga match at WrestleMania 23.
Umanga.
And, well, he did feud with Vince. And, I mean, that do-rag Vince. Excuse me while I whip this out.
And there was that Trump thing, the match.
Yeah. But I mean, we'll go Great American Bash here. Him and John Cena had a hell of a match at Great American Bash 07. I will say that.
Yeah. But looking at it, like I said, it's a young person's sport.
It is. And I mean, we saw a lot of.
Look at all the companies. AEW's doing it.
They are.
You have Swerve Strickland, one of the hottest talents in wrestling. You've got Jack Perry, young talent. You have MJF, younger talent.
Yep.
It's the way to do it.
It is, and especially also looking towards the future and looking towards what we have for the landscape and trajectory of professional wrestling, it makes sense, and that's the ride that we're all taking here. And speaking of the ride we're taking, I will say we did take a ride looking at this one. And before we get into the card and we read our notes on our tablets here, Daniel, I have to ask you a question. This was the first Great American Bash 04 WWE SmackDown branded pay-per-view. They brought the Bash back. This is the first one in 4 years. What were your thoughts on them bringing back the concept at this time?
I was all for it. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, because honestly, I grew up a WCW guy.
Right.
I remember as a kid, it was like, well, do we want to order WWE pay-per-views or WCW? I mean, at the time, WCW had, the NWO before it got to,
Yeah.
Which, as an aside, they should have had WCW on Nitro, NWO do Thunder.
That would have been a nice little cool spinoff.
You had the opportunity, but you fumbled it.
You did.
That, and Time Warner didn't want wrestling on the network,
and that's why WCW went out of business, and here we are now.
And Vince paid $1 million for it.
I'll pay you.
Like literally, that's what he paid.
He did, like literally 1 million, folks. Like not a lot.
If you read Ric Flair's book, Ric says when he found out about that, he was crushed. And he said because he had that money. But at the same time, he didn't have a network deal.
True. So I mean, Ric Flair buys WCW, great, but where the hell are you going to put it?
Honestly, I would say if YouTube had been a thing back then,
it would have done really well.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, it would have been huge. But that's why I'm glad we've got AEW. I'm glad we've got TNA. I'm happy for it. But back to the point, I always liked WCW. Not so much towards the end because I thought it was getting a little weird. I'm talking about having Vince Russo winning the WWE Championship.
Here's what we're gonna do.
Here's what we're gonna do, bro. We're gonna put the world title on me, bro.
Oh my lord! But that was the trajectory of WCW at the time, like you mentioned. But I mean, WCW did give us, like you mentioned, Dusty Rhodes, the Great American Bash, and now what we have with NXT. But this was not a good introduction to the Great American.
This weren't it.
This was not it.
I don't think Dusty Rhodes was back in the fold as of yet.
No, he was still in TNA as the director of authority.
That probably got to him. He's probably like, this motherfucker here.
These motherfuckers.
Let me tell you something, baby. They using my show, baby. They use my show. I remember it was like maybe a year or two later, they post on WWE.com. They showed Dusty Rhodes at WWE headquarters.
Yep. Well,
and then we get that random Dusty Rhodes match on Raw, where I think he fought one of the guys from the Spirit Squad.
He fought Nick Nemeth,
and won.
I
think Nick Nemeth was Dusty's final match.
No, I'll tell you why. Because Great American Bash 07, Randy Orton and Dusty in the bull rope match.
Man, Dusty in his prime versus Randy Orton,
yes,
would have been amazing.
That match, not so much. Not so much.
Well, you also got to realize, but I'm saying Dusty in his prime,
yes,
that would have been great. That would have been incredible.
But Dusty was older, and I think for the time that they got and who he was working with, Randy Orton, he took care of him. But it wasn't going to be it was not going to be him and Carino from ECW in 2000.
And even Orton now, I think, would have been better.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think that Orton now, the dude is, incredible.
Him and Gunther, dude, I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
And honestly, I'm going to need Cena versus Orton one more time.
If we're going to do this 2025 tour, how can you not?
One more time. And honestly, Triple H, work something out with Tony Khan. Get Adam Copeland per one match.
I'll pay you.
Pay you. No, give us. I would love to see Edge versus Cena one last time.
In 2024, yes, absolutely. And going into 2025, but still, it would be really good because of the two wrestlers in there and their chemistry, but also don't have him do dumb shit like jump off a cage and don't do that.
But I honestly, if I can't have it, then I need Cena versus Orton one last time.
I think there is talks that they were saying of doing John Cena and Gunther in 2025 as well.
I'd be cool with it.
I'm cool with a lot of it. John Cena, Braun Breaker.
I think Cena needs to win the title one last time.
You want him to beat the record?
Yeah.
All right.
You know, honestly, what I could see happening, Cena wins the Royal Rumble, faces Gunther at WrestleMania, wins it.
Yep.
Then SummerSlam, we get Cena versus Braun Breaker for the World Heavyweight title.
And then Braun Breaker beats John Cena.
Yep.
I like that. Putting over the younger guard for the future. Yep.
I think that's the way you do it. And now, I think, you have Ludwig Kaiser cost Gunther the match.
Well, that feud, that should be really good if they ever do and pull the trigger on it.
Because you have two guys that respect the hell out of each other, that have traveled the roads, done the shows. Those are the best ones.
Well, yeah, the friendship, it says it all. It says it all right there. So, and also Kaiser's the one who helped him get back into shape. So,
and boy, did he!
Oh my goodness, the training regimen and working out with Kaiser, my lord.
I mean, dude, Gunther's my inspiration. He was never big, but he was bigger.
He was bigger. He wasn't fat, but he was big. He was bigger, and he could move. But at this rate now, oh my god.
I wouldn't want to mess with him.
I would not, especially that chop, even though Damian Priest is like, I'm going to make you bleed, bitch, from your chest.
Oh. And then he looks down and he rubbing it in his hair like, psycho.
You sicko. You psycho.
He does it for the sickos.
He does it for the sickos.
So shall we get to the matches?
Yes, sir. So we'll start it off here. So the first match of the Great American Bash 2004, John Cena, Booker T, Rene Dupree, and Rob Van Dam in a fatal four-way elimination match for the WWE United States Championship. All right, so here's my notes. They have the veterans Rob Van Dam and Booker T. They have John Cena, Rene Dupree, the upstarts. This is John Cena's second pay-per-view match with the U.S. title after winning it at WrestleMania, which I was there for WrestleMania 20. Him and Rene Dupree had that match at Judgment Day. And then we get to here, and I will say this. What I wrote about Cena has potential. They were not there yet with him going towards the WWE title, but they saw something in him, and this was very solid for his first ever championship in WWE. Oh, wow. Rob Van Dam, the veteran, helping out the younger talent. Booker T as well, becoming a heel now, also helping out the younger talent and really working his butt off to showcase his singles run. And Rene Dupree is this hot young upstart going away from La Resistance and showcasing he can also be a very hot, cocky, arrogant heel. And I mean, John Cena eliminates Rob Van Dam with the roll-up. Rene Dupree gets eliminated from Booker T after Cena gives him the FU, and then Booker T gets eliminated by Cena with the FU, which would then lead to the John Cena Booker T Best of 5 series for the United States Championship, that first match taking place at SummerSlam. It was all to lead to John Cena and Booker, but I thought from top to bottom this match was solid, and it set the tone for where we were going that summer.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's I will say for Van Dam, he's always been a workhorse. He's one of those guys, never needed the title. Never needed it. But you knew with Van Dam, you were always going to have a good match. And, I had to, I said, Van Dam, solid. Dupree, needs more. I always thought with Rene Dupree, there could have been so much more with that guy. They could have done a lot more with him than they actually did. And it's sad. But I honestly thought he could have been a multiple-time world champion.
I think the problem with Rene was, and he said it himself, drugs. He was on a lot of pain meds, and he was not doing right on that part. And I think it was just because, they felt he was immature. The Hardcore Holly incident happening didn't help. And I mean, it's a shame, too, because I always liked Rene Dupree. I thought the French Tickler was funny. I thought he was entertaining, and he could also be a badass heel from his size and stature. But WWE didn't see that. They just kept him in the mid-card. And after this, yeah.
There was the whole Kenzo Suzuki gimmick, the tag team.
Yeah.
La Resistance was an incredible team, both when it was him and Sylvain Grenier.
Yep.
And then
Rob Conway.
Was Rob Conway. And then it was him and Sylvan again.
Oh, that ECW match where they killed those guys, and then that was the end of them.
Like, honestly, those guys, they should never split them up.
Well, the problem was they made Renee go to ECW, and he was on the ECW brand for like a little bit after this. And like you mentioned, the tag team title run with Kenzo Suzuki. Then he went to Raw. Then he went back to OVW because he, again, pain meds and everything that he was taking. And then he went to ECW. Then him and La Resistance formed briefly in ECW, and then he was gone. Sylvan would then go on to be the model, Sylvan. Then he would be the ambassador at large, the ambassador of Quebec, Sylvain Grenier. Rob Conway would go on to be the column man. Just look at me. Yeah. Ain't I a sight to see?
Which, honestly, if you were a WCW fan, since we're talking about a WCW brand named show,
okay,
it was a blatant ripoff of Buff Bagwell.
Oh, he had the Buff Bagwell build. He had the Buff Bagwell sunglasses. He legit looked like Buff Bagwell's kid.
Yeah, like he was great value Buff Bagwell, but more talented. Because after he left WWE, Rob Conway did pretty well for himself.
NWA, OVW,
multiple-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
Yep. He wrestled in Japan. He was in OVW.
Yeah, and they never gave the guy a chance.
Then he got fired on TV after losing to Jeff Hardy in like 20 seconds. But yes, so I will say this. What were your thoughts as well? This was John Cena's second title defense. I thought this first match was solid. It was a good way to start the show. What did you think about looking back at Cena here? Like, this is his first title.
Honestly, I kind of like it. To me, with the Intercontinental title, to me, that's your workhorse title. That's the guy that, somebody like a Van Dam is perfect for. Multiple times, it's the workhorse, they're going to show up and have a good match.
Right.
You have your Sami Zayns now. You have, Gunther rebuilt that title.
Yep.
And the U.S. title is, to me, it's like it's a good first title, to say, hey, this is what you do. Can you handle it?
And I think he handled it well. And I mean, going into the feud afterwards, like we mentioned, this was the setup for him and Booker in the summer for the Best of 5 series. I think he held his own, and then that would lead to the Carlito feud later that year and Jesus stabbing him at the nightclub with Carlito's bodyguard, Jesus, Aaron Aguilera. But yeah, this was the start of the
Whatever happened to that guy?
Aaron Aguilera? I think he did some work in Mexico, and then that was it. I think he's retired now.
It wasn't his fault.
Unlike Snitsky, this was not Aaron Aguilera's fault. But yeah, no, this was the year that propelled John Cena to what we would see going into WrestleMania 21 the following year. So good way to start the match and good way to start the show. And then it took a dive after here, folks.
Took a hard left turn.
Oh, man. So we go to the back, and Charlie Haas, who's a babyface at the time, and his would-then-be wife, Miss Jackie Gata, are congratulating John Cena. And then Kurt Angle in the wheelchair because Big Show chokeslammed him off the friggin' dock or whatever in the parking lot. And Luther Reigns, who we saw as his bodyguard at the time, him and Cena were beefing because Cena and Kurt Angle did not like each other. Kurt Angle didn't want Cena as the U.S. champ, and there was a whole thing there. And then Kurt Angle's like, oh, Charlie, so you're friends with John Cena, huh? Oh, you think this is funny? Okay, well, you're going to face Luther Reigns next. And I'm like, you're just adding a match to the pay-per-view now? You're like, just out of nowhere, we're going to get Luther Reigns versus Charlie Haas now? What were your thoughts on the angle that led to this? Because we'll get into the match next because this is what's up. But what's stupid. And was it just because they were trying to find like some filler, or was it just it's like, yeah, hey, we got Luther Reigns here, let's have him debut?
Honestly, I think it was a filler. Like I think they had time because I've got the times here. This one was 7 minutes and 11 seconds. Okay,
so with that being said, Luther Reigns versus Charlie Haas. Not a lot here on my notes. They were trying to showcase Luther Vandross, God rest his soul. My goodness, that's a different Luther. Luther Reigns, not to be confused with Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, but Luther
no relation at all.
No relation. For those,
although I would imagine Luther Reigns would acknowledge the original tribal chief.
I think he would acknowledge the OTC, yes. Now, Luther Reigns was the former Horseshoe in WCW towards the later years. Did you like him as Horseshoe? I know you remember him as Horseshoe.
Yeah, I do.
I've seen him like a few times on WCW. He was okay. He wasn't bad.
I mean, he was a standard run-of-the-mill mid-card guy.
Yeah, and then he
You
comes
got to
out.
realize, remember back then, WCW had so many talent, and of course, so many egos with the NWO. Like, you had a 3-hour Nitro, and like a third of it is like backstage NWO segments.
True, and I mean Horseshoe kind of got lost in the sauce, so to speak, to quote LA Knight, along with the younger guys. And AJ Styles was there a short time, and Christopher Daniels and Mike
with
Modest.
A team called Air Raid.
Air Raid.
With a guy by the name of Air Paris.
Oh my God. You're taking it back for everybody. Air Raid.
24 years, folks. 24 years.
What's next? You're going to talk about Elix Skipper and Kid Romeo as the Cruiserweight Tag Team Champions.
The ugliest fucking titles I have ever seen. Folks, seriously, pause this shit. Go open up another. If you're watching us online on your computers, open up another browser, type in WCW Cruiserweight Tag Team titles. If you're on your phone, same thing. They were ugly.
You'll see an image of them in this portion of the show. They were bad. They were really, really bad.
And the last I remember, some private collector owns them.
That poor soul.
You know Triple H is a belt guy. He doesn't even want them.
Whoever has it, God bless you. Oh, so
supposedly there were plans at one time for WWE, when they brought back, they had the Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah.
At one point they were supposed to have Cruiserweight tag titles, and I guess a belt was made, but nobody fucking knows.
Well, when you have the Cruiserweight Classic, and I'm going to say this, the Cruiserweight Championship, when it came back as the purple thing, I'm like, no, I'm not for it. I'm not. But hey, it worked at the time, and I mean, it gave us a lot of great matches in the Cruiserweight Classic.
Wasn't a fan of the design of that thing.
I hated it too, but I got to say the Cruiserweight Classic was banging. It was banging and banging. Now that's actually a future show for season 5. If we can talk some Cruiserweight Classic. We're getting flowing, baby.
Oh yeah.
So speaking of flowing,
how many of those guys are still with WWE?
0.
No, I think Cedric Alexander's still there.
Yeah, Cedric. Okay, you're correct. Well, Cedric's on NXT now with Ashanti the Adonis as his tag partner.
Which I'm glad they're doing something with them.
Well, what else are you going to do? Are you going to just leave him on SmackDown to flounder? Or are you going to put him in NXT? You're going to put him in NXT.
It's something.
Yeah. And what is something is this match. Luther Reigns, Charlie Haas. Not much really to say here. Luther powered him, and did his normal power moves. Big man doing power moves. Charlie Haas gets a drop kick and a T-bone suplex in for a near fall. Then Luther absolutely mollywops him with a reverse neck breaker that looked like a modified Crossroads. 1, 2, 3. Luther wins. Yeah, was what it was. Your thoughts?
Yawn.
Did you like how they tried to show Luther as the badass and Charlie got like very minimal offense in here?
They tried, again, we all know Vince was a guy that he liked the big guys.
Yes.
And they tried with Luther Reigns. They tried to get him over, guys like him, guys like Tomko years later, guys that had the look but just didn't have it.
Well, here's my thing with Luther Reigns. He goes after this to feud with Eddie Guerrero. Him and Mark Jindrak and Kurt Angle shoot the Big Show with the tranquilizer dart, and they have that feud. He wrestles The Undertaker at No Way Out 2005. Then him and Mark Jindrak turn on each other. Mark Jindrak becomes a babyface, and Luther Reigns is still a heel. And then after that, he was done. That was the last Luther Reigns, like right after that.
If Undertaker doesn't like you.
That match was terrible. If you remember that match from No Way Out 05, that was a stink. They tried. I mean, again, they tried, but it wasn't working. It didn't work. And Taker didn't like him either. Yeah, that's right. Taker did not like Luther Reigns. But they tried. It was something, but yeah.
I think I remember reading a story back then, like he had pissed Taker off somehow.
he pissed a lot of people off. I think he was known as a stooge in the locker room, like he would stooge people off. Which again,
And back then,
yeah.
If you piss off Taker, you basically sign your own death warrant.
Hello, Mike Awesome. God rest his soul, because they wanted him to wrestle Mike Awesome during the Invasion storyline at that angle, and Undertaker's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. No, thank you. He's turned down people he did not want to wrestle, and he didn't want to wrestle.
Part of that, if I remember reading, like he didn't like the way that Mike Awesome had left ECW.
Well, could you blame him?
He was the world champion, and no, I would be the same way, honestly.
Well, what you're doing is hurting the business, and it's bad for business to make your company look bad like that. You didn't do the honors on the way out, so I don't blame him. And he was always a company guy, and he still is.
And, although I do disagree that, he said that Logan Paul made the U.S. title relevant again.
Oh, my God. He was just trying to be nice. You better stop right now, Mr. Mark Calloway. I looked at him, and I'm like, you can't be fucking serious.
Be quiet, Mark.
Mark, just stop talking, Mark. Be quiet.
But, it's again, going back to it, they tried with Luther Reigns. They really did.
But didn't work.
I feel like he's somebody that, again, he had the look. He was so in the ring. And it's a shame that NXT wasn't around back then.
Well, the only thing that was around, it was just OVW because they didn't open Deep South yet.
And I think if Paul Heyman really had been, more of a manager back then, like he is now, I think he would have been amazing for him.
Well, he couldn't manage him yet because he had to manage the Dudleys, and then he had to manage Heidenreich, which, yeah.
I like you, Dean.
I like you, John. Well, what we thought we would like would be the next match, but
nice segue there, by the way.
Yes, thank you. Well, actually, I think we did like the next match because I was about to say this is not where we kind of go up a little bit here. You know what? Because I was going
briefly. Very brief.
Because I was going to go to Kenzo next, but then I forgot this was here. Rey Mysterio and Chavo Guerrero.
Imagine, folks. Imagine this pay-per-view was a roller coaster. Imagine, you're going. This is the point where we're going up, 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 up. You hear the click, 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 and this is about where it goes. This is about the peak.
So we start off strong. Then we go back up a little bit as it's Rey Mysterio and Chavo Guerrero for the Cruiserweight Championship. This was great psychology, not a lot of high flying, but Chavo working over Rey's leg, and then the comeback city at the end, and then the roll up for the 1, 2, 3. I think Rey and Chavo, it's self-explanatory. They've had great feuds. They have great matches with each other and great chemistry. This was a plus side for me. I like the fact that they told a story from the psychology standpoint of working over Rey's leg, and then Rey fighting through and just squeaking by with the sunset flip roll up for the 1, 2, 3. I really enjoyed it. What'd you think of Rey and Chavo?
Again, great match. They had great matches in WCW. I don't think they're so close anymore.
No. With everything that happened with him saying what he said about Dominic, you know what I'm saying? Because he's like, if it works. And I'm like, dude, it's a tribute to Eddie, and it's a tribute to everything. Like, come on now, Chavo, don't be so sour.
Eddie wouldn't care.
He would not. He would think it was funny. If he was still alive now, he would think it would be funny.
He probably would have gotten involved.
No, Eddie Guerrero? Absolutely, he would have. Can I just say it? Good.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, bro, can we give a shout out to Joe Hendry for that? For that on a...
No, I don't think you said his name, but he did not appear.
He did not appear. So, Joe Hendry on NXT at the Great American Bash against Joe Coffey. He legit did throw the chair. Takes the bump on the table like Eddie Guerrero, and the line sheet is still Joe Hendry is great.
Joe Hendry is a special. There is something special about this guy.
So, if you were to tell me in 2018 the guy that was teaming with Grado would be what we have now, I would have told you were out of your fucking mind.
The guy who once played a representative of the Russian Federation with Miro, a.k.a. Rusev.
Would be this big guy now with this huge song. I would have told you were crazy.
Something that was on the iTunes charts, mind you.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm happy for him.
Me too. He's been working his butt off. He has a great look. They're going to keep him around for NXT and TNA with this great working relationship. I'm here for it, man. It's more exposure for the both of them.
When his TNA contract is up, where he's going.
Oh, you absolutely know. And I say the exact same thing about Jordan Grace. I say the
Jordan
exact
Grace and probably others.
But I will say it does really help that they have this relationship. And I'll say this to you. This is way better than the AEW TNA relationship. Can we just put that out into the forefront?
That did literally
Nothing. Nothing for nobody. And well, what did do something for somebody was this match. Rey Mysterio and Chavo Guerrero, like we mentioned, folks. Great match. I would say go out of your way and watch this one back because this was a bright spot on this very show. And then we go downhill again.
We nosedived.
Kenzo Suzuki versus Billy Gunn. I couldn't even tell you why this match happened. I remember they had a match like a few weeks prior on SmackDown, and Kenzo won. And then it's like, all right, we're going to do it again. And, well, Kenzo and Billy Gunn, what I wrote was normal Billy Gunn sequence. Kenzo Suzuki hits a bad chop and a bad boot and a kick that looked very wonky. And then all of a sudden he counters the Billy Gunn offense, the famouser, into a inverted backbreaker on the knee that looked very sloppy. 1, 2, 3, Kenzo Suzuki is your winner. After this, Kenzo Suzuki would become tag champ with Rene Dupree. He would then go on to do a funny gimmick where he loved America and would face John Cena for the U.S. title. Then him and his wife, Hiroko, got drafted to Raw in the summer of 2005, but due to Black Friday and the mass releases, he was released before he could even go to Raw. And that was the end of Kenzo Suzuki in WWE.
Wasn't this the year that, like, they had the draft on like a month on Raw?
Yeah.
And then that Friday of the same week,
they all got fired, yeah.
that was the real draft.
Yeah, John Cena got drafted. That was that big moment on Raw, right? And then like Friday, the Black Friday masses, and then they got rid of like A-Train, Kenzo Suzuki, and Chuck Palumbo, and all these people before they gave a debut.
I wonder whatever happened to that A-Train guy.
I know. I wonder what happened to him. I hear he's kicking some ass in somewhere next.
Yeah.
He's doing his thing, which you gotta God bless him. Matt Bloom, I gotta say, from a guy that was such a badass wrestler, now he's such a badass trainer and well respected. You gotta love what he's doing.
And honestly, dude, some of his shit in Japan with Carl Anderson, by the way.
Yes. Also, watch him and Tomko, Giant Bernard and Tomko as the IWGP Tag Team Champions. It's really good. It's really, really good. So you get.
I just wasn't thrilled. I mean, so I had the Suzuki match and be like, big man not working well. Like, he didn't work. It didn't work out. They tried with him. He's somebody that I think, again, wrong time. I feel he's another guy that would have worked, had NXT. I mean, now, like, if you could bring him from then into now, I think he would do a lot better.
Yeah, and the thing, too, is you have a lot of guys like that. Again, like we mentioned, developmental wasn't really as big as it was. I mean, OVW was there, but Paul Heyman didn't take over at OVW until like 2005. He wasn't booking OVW at the time. So, I mean, it was what it was. But Kenzo Suzuki came from All Japan and New Japan, and then they brought him here to be the land of the rising sun and, being Kenzo Suzuki. And then it didn't work. It failed.
Basically the gimmick that Matt Bloom would have as Lord Tensai.
This was Lord Tensai before Lord Tensai, absolutely. And I have to ask you as well, this after Billy Gunn, he would get fired for his addiction. And then he would go to TNA the following year as the Outlaw first, and then he became Kip James Bitch. And then he would have his lengthy career in TNA, and then he would go back to WWE, and now he's daddy ass in AEW.
And let's not forget, he and Road Dogg would cut that god-awful shoot video where they just dogged Triple H.
So for what he's referring to is Rob Feinstein, RF Video. The first shoot that they did, they were out of their minds high and on whatever they were on, and they just buried Triple H for like 10 minutes straight. And they didn't. They're like,
the first thing you hear is Hunter was always a dick.
That's literally what they said. He was a dick. And they're like this. They're swaying. Oh, it was bad. They were fucked up. It's from like 05, 06. It was bad. It was really, really bad.
But you know what? They've made amends. Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah. As long as we don't have Billy Gunn. Well, I got to say, in 2014, you think I'd ever see Billy Gunn and Road Dogg as the tag team champions again? No.
I didn't have that on my wrestling bingo card.
I did not, but they did. And but no, I mean, I'm glad to see this was still when Billy Gunn was in a bad place. So I mean, doesn't excuse it, but yeah, this did not work for me, brother. To quote the Hulkster. Now what did work
for me, brother?
Doesn't work for me, brother. Well, what did work for me is not this match, but let's talk about these segments here because I think we'd be remiss if we didn't. So they did a lot of segments throughout the night where Tori Wilson and Sable were kind of like hosting SummerSlam along with Dawn Marie. They were in a hot tub, and then Sable got out, and all the guys in there were just like, oh my God, look at this hot woman in bikini, and she's all wet. And then you had Billy Gunn, Spike Dudley, and Funaki in a hot tub with Tori Wilson, and Billy Kidman's looking like, oh my God. I'm like, dude, it's your wife. Because they were married at the time. Billy Kidman and Tori Wilson. And then Funaki goes, God bless America. And I'm like, all right, okay. And then Nunzio was with Dawn Marie, and he's trying to tell her, you know what they say about a guy with big feet. And she goes, what? And she goes, never mind. And I'm like, this was what we had them do, just like be in the tub. And yeah, what were your thoughts on this? Because we were talking about this before we came on air, and you were talking about Tori Wilson was terrible on the mic.
Like, this whole thing, like, he didn't have good writers in this time period.
No, he did not.
And this was one of the prime examples that, like, it just didn't work.
Well, my thing, too, is you have Tori and Sable, which is our next match. They were tag team partners at WrestleMania 20, and they fought in the Playboy pillow fight or whatever it was against Stacey Keebler and Miss Jackie. And then Sable turns on her because Tori is like, doing like the bikinis or one of the hottest girls or whatever it was that she was on, or she got something to do with SmackDown, or she was on the cover of, or the SmackDown magazine, or whatever the fuck it was.
It was Playboy.
Was it? No, well, they were in Playboy together.
Well, no, she was on it separately. Then they did a joint cover.
Oh, yes. Okay, that's right. Yeah. So anyway, Playboy aside, it was a stupid storyline. And then Sable turns on Tori, and then we have this atrocity of a match, which, as I wrote, cat fight, snapmares, trying to wrestle, rolling over the referee spot where they roll over the ref, rolling around the ring. And then Sable gets the tights and pins Tori Wilson for the 1, 2, 3. And Tori Wilson's shoulders were up. Yeah. And Sable gets the win, and then we would never see Sable ever, 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 ever again. They did a rematch on SmackDown that Tori won, and hasta la vista, Sable. What were your thoughts on Sable and Tori?
Bye.
Well, I mean, they were beautiful women at the time. I mean, dude, let's be honest. I was 12 at the time, Daniel. And seeing these women, oh my God. But again, now as a 32-year-old man, 20 years later, I'm like, God, this was horrible.
Yeah. I wonder whatever happened to that Sable person.
I heard she got married to some big guy. He's a former beast incarnate. But yeah, no. My thing too, man, is like, how old were you when this came out? Like, this is 2004. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to make you.
We would have been 18.
Okay, so how do you? Well, we talked about this in the first episode of the season, folks, with Girls Gone Wild. Which watch our show. Don't watch that show.
You should have watched all of them.
You should have watched all of them. Click subscribe, by the way. Cheap plug. So
and ring the bell.
Ring the bell. So Daniel, I have to ask. So I was 12 again. So this is the summer of 04. I was going into 6th grade, and again, youngin, preteen, before puberty. But you're 18. You're in high school or at graduating high school, whatever.
I just graduated that summer.
Graduated high school. Okay. What was the difference between you watching as an 18-year-old and where you are now?
Honestly, I'm somebody that I grew up in the period where women, all they had was, they had the HLA shit, like the year prior. They had, women weren't getting a whole lot of TV time. And usually it was, like some sexual related gimmick, and it's
panties or the bikini contest.
Which, that shit wouldn't fly now. But
oh, God, no.
If I remember right, I mean, this was back then with the dirt sheets, and I remember there being something about Sable. So there was something about Sable, and I remember hearing something about a lawsuit.
Well, I think this was around the time. So this in the Attitude Era, she had sued them for sexual harassment or whatever it was, and then they settled. Then Sable got brought back in 03 to feud to kiss Tori and like be a heel towards Tori Wilson, and then she was the face with Tori with the Playboy match, and then a heel again with Tori. And the thing, too, was they worked out a deal, and Sable was involved with Vince, which not going to get into that just because it was gross and whatnot. But her second run in the WWE, the year that she was there, was no bueno, folks. This was not Sable in 1998 or 99. This was.
I mean, and you could tell she didn't really want to be there.
Yeah, she was just doing it for the payday. Like, all right, we shut her up. Let's bring her back. I mean, she met Brock. That was a plus. She met Brock. And Mark Mero was like, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna mess with this. Like, my wife left me for Brock Lesnar. Yeah, I can't even say anything. I'm not even gonna play with this. Poor Mark Mero. Poor Mark Mero.
He's doing well for himself now, though.
He is. He's very much a positive influence in what he does.
Good for him.
Yeah. But yeah, Sable Torrie, no bueno. No bueno. And speaking of no bueno.
This next garbage dumpster fire, whatever you want to call it. Imagine, I want you to picture, like, we're going to do a little bit of visualization exercise.
All right, hit me.
In your head, I want you to picture a dumpster.
Dumpster.
You got it?
I got it.
A dumpster filled with dog shit.
Okay.
Lit on fire.
Yep.
Still better than this next match.
Mordecai versus Hardcore Holly. Do you remember how this match got added?
No.
So the SmackDown before this show, Mordecai and Hardcore Holly were brawling in the locker room. Just announced on the Great American Bash, Mordecai versus Hardcore Holly. That was literally it. So Mordecai, who would go on to be Kevin Thorne in ECW, former Kevin Fertig, wrestles Hardcore Holly, and all I wrote was sloppy. This match should have been on Velocity. Hardcore Holly does the usual comeback, the clothesline, the drop kick, and for a near fall. I cannot believe that in the early part of this year he was pushed to go against Brock and just went down afterwards. I wrote that.
We already talked about that one.
I know. Go back and listen, folks. I wrote, he goes from Brock to this. So I'm looking at my notes. He goes from Brock to this. And he just wins with the crucifix bomb, the Razor's Edge for the 1, 2, 3, and it sucked. Mordecai, baby. Your thoughts?
You know, I thought, how is this guy working here?
Yeah. I mean,
I thought cheap imitation Undertaker.
So this was his second pay-per-view. He debuted at Judgment Day, and he beat Scotty 2 Hotty. Then we have this match, and then he's gone after this because he loses to Rey Mysterio. They wanted him to feud with The Undertaker, but then I think he got into a fight or some bar brawl or something, and that cost him the feud with Taker. And also, I think at the same time, The Undertaker did not want to work with him at all. Like, he did not want to work with Kevin Fertig at all. And it would have made no sense because that was what they originally wanted. They were talking about doing for WrestleMania 21 was The Undertaker Mordecai. But no, thank God we didn't get that. My thing with him too is he did a pro on Eddie Guerrero, and I think there was originally one of the talks was him and Eddie Guerrero for the WWE title, and I'm like, no, don't do it. No. I mean, did you like the Pale Rider? The vignettes were cool. Like, it was something different, but the execution was just blah.
It was the opposite of The Undertaker. You know, it was Undertaker represented the darkness. Mordecai was the light.
Hear me. Fear me.
But yet, Undertaker's a good guy. It should have been the other way around.
Yeah, but I would have liked to see how they would have contrasted that going forward, but he sucked. He was not ready. He was not ready to be called up. Did you like him as Kevin Thorne, though, in ECW? That was a little – that with Ariel, Shelly Martinez. That was a little
I didn't hate it, but, like, the whole vampire thing.
Yeah, and, well, they were supposed to have Gangrel with him, but then WWE released Gangrel at the time. They were going to put Gangrel with him, but no, nothing. I don't get it. But, yeah, this match was terrible. And then bye-bye Mordecai right after this.
At 6 minutes and 31 seconds. That's 6 minutes and 31 seconds I will never get back in my life.
But can you also agree that this match should – well, let's not even say like this match, but a lot of these matches would have just been better on like a SmackDown or like a Velocity at the time.
Like, I'm going to do you one better. This is one of those matches that just should have never happened.
True, but you know, a lot of these matches are like
this would have been better on like Jacked or one of them or Metal or one of their shows that was on super early in the morning on a channel that nobody fucking had.
True. Well, yeah, we go from Mordecai to Hardcore Holly. It gets better. I mean, we get a little bit better here. Eddie Guerrero and JBL for the WWE Championship Texas Bull Rope match. So
Bloody as all hell.
I like that Eddie Guerrero gives him the chair shot back to JBL that he gave him at Judgment Day that opened Eddie Guerrero wide up, and it opened JBL wide up. They used the cowbell. These two beat the crap out of each other. The power bomb that he gave him through the table, my God. They're all touching four corners, but Eddie splashes JBL. His back hits the corner. Eddie's arm and everything hits as well. So it's like, okay, who won? And then Kurt Angle comes out and goes, since JBL's back hit first, JBL's the new WWE champion. And this would start off the JBL reign as one of the longest champions of that modern era. Your thoughts on Eddie and JBL?
Wasn't a fan.
So I heard around the time, and I mean, we talk about hearing and reading stuff. Eddie Guerrero wasn't happy with his run. I think a lot of the attendance was down at the time, and Eddie felt bad. It's like, you know what? If I don't deserve it if this is going to be like this, because there was a lot of bad business going on at the time, like diminishing house shows and everything as far as the product was what it was in 2004. So Eddie wins it. He did. He beats Brock. He beats Kurt, and then he loses to JBL in the DQ, and then JBL won by DQ at that Judgment Day. Like, yeah, it was what it was. It was what it was. Or no, Eddie won because of the chair shot, right? I think Eddie won by DQ at that one. Yeah, but then they did this, and this was the gimmick where he's like, you go, the illegal aliens sending them back to Mexico. He's at the border and he's giving poor Eddie Guerrero's mom a heart attack. And it's like, why are we going?
It was a legit heart attack.
It was a legit heart attack.
Wasn't supposed to happen, but
it was. Well, I think it was supposed to be. She was supposed to It wasn't like she really had a heart attack. It was just like in the story. But then she really had like a heart attack, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like they realized, JBL realized as he was there, he's like,
like she's really.
They had to escort JBL out of town. They had to give him a police escort.
Yep.
Like, you want to talk heat magnet? MJF has nothing on JBL from back in the day.
Oh, no, not at all.
This is the guy who, on a house show in Munich, Germany,
did the Nazi salute.
Nazi salute and the goose step.
Yep.
He almost got arrested for it because it's fucking illegal.
Yep. That's how big JBL. Well, I think it was a change also as far as his gimmick because the APA had run its course and they needed to do something. So they used the fact that he was a financial analyst and he was on Fox. And he had the book at the time, Have More Money Now. And he just came out and he was John Bradshaw Layfield, this aristocratic, I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you type of gimmick. And that suited JBL for 20 years plus now, where we are today. What do you think about this is his first WWE title win, one of his most iconic, and one of his iconic reigns. What were your thoughts on him actually? They're giving him the belt here.
I mean, honestly, I liked JBL. I liked Bradshaw, the whole accolades. I like that. Yeah. I thought he was champion for a little too long.
Yeah.
But what's burned in my mind from this show was him clutching the WWE Championship covered in blood.
Yep, that iconic image of him with the blood crimson mask.
No, that's a phrase I haven't heard in a long, long time.
Yeah, but I thought what they did here, was I crazy about the feud? I mean, they had a cage match after this, and then Eddie would go feud with Kurt. The cage match was really good.
We got some pretty lousy JBL defenses. In particular, the barbed wire steel cage with Big Show. Big Show chokeslams JBL through the ring.
Yep.
And Big Show's about to climb out of the cage. Bell rings, and you're like, wait, did Big Show win it? No, JBL had, crawled through the hole in the ring and out.
Yeah, he did.
That happened.
They tried with the barbed wire cage. I mean, his whole title reign, like The Undertaker, Booker T, and Eddie Guerrero, him and Booker T, him, Kurt Angle, and the Big Show, then the Big Show, and then losing it to Cena at WrestleMania 21, which right call.
And getting a rematch, and yeah.
one of the most bloodiest I Quit matches besides the Eddie Guerrero one. That was another bloody barn burner. My goodness. But yeah, that was the start.
I think he and Cena both bled in that one.
Yes, they both bled. Whew. But yeah, speaking of barn burner, we get to the main event of this show. The Undertaker against the Dudley Boys in the Concrete Crypt match. So they kidnap Paul Bearer, that being the Dudley Boys. And Paul Heyman has control of the urn. Like we mentioned, Undertaker does the whole, he acknowledges the urn, and he does his little thing to this is the power. He has the power of the urn. Yes. And he turns heel, sort of. But he now is under Paul Heyman's control, and he's attacking RVD and John Cena, and he's just doing heelish things, but he's getting cheered because he's the Undertaker. Nobody wants to boo the Undertaker. And
I think they tried to turn him heel.
They tried, but it wasn't going to work. It didn't work. And then, so Paul Heyman's in order to get it back, you have to face the Dudleys in the Concrete Crypt. And Paul Bearer's in the Concrete Crypt, but there is a stunt double there too as well. It's a stunt double, right? He was there for some of it, but it's mostly the stunt double, right?
Yeah.
If I got that correctly. Did I get that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So some of the spots you'll see on the up close is Paul Bearer, and some of the close-ups is the stunt double. When Undertaker does the whole at the end, it's the stunt double. So let's get into the match. Typical double team offense, modified 3D. The Undertaker fights back, the clotheslines, the snake eyes, and the boot and the leg drop. He's going through the Dudleys. The Dudleys are double teaming him, taking him down. It's typical handicap match style. Undertaker takes out Bubba with a choke slam. Devon takes a tombstone because Devon's going to take the pin. 1, 2, 3. The Undertaker wins. He goes over to the Concrete Crypt. He goes, Paul, I have no choice. Rest in peace. And he pulls the lever. And then, no, Undertaker, no, please, no. And he's in the cement, and that ends the Great American Bash.
And he would come back a couple years later.
But he only comes back 6 years later? Yeah,
and he's miraculously fine.
And he's fine. And he's with Kane, and he's with The Undertaker again. And the whole 9, yeah. For the one final run. But he's fine, nothing. He just, how about that time you put me in the Concrete Crypt? No, cement, no.
I do think they did work that into the storyline when he turned on Taker, because, it's they're back together, and then he turns on Taker, and it's...
All right. Because Kane, my son Kane. But yeah, that was the Great American Bash 04, ladies and gentlemen. Overall, better than December to Dismember?
But not by much.
But not that much. If you really want to go see the matches, I will say this. Watch the Fatal 4-Way for the U.S. title. Watch the Eliminator. Watch Rey and Chavo. And watch Eddie and JBL. And if you're interested in the angle that is Undertaker and Dudley Boys, watch that. But don't watch Mordecai and Hardcore Holly. Don't watch Kenzo and Billy. Just watch the main ones.
Yeah, just don't.
Just don't. It was again, this was the 04 was the first incarnation of the WWE's version. And we touched upon with NXT now and how they're using it. But then if you remember in 09, they changed it to The Bash. And it was just The Bash. They got rid of the Great American. It was just The Bash. Just shit. But that is what we watched. It was shit. But I got to say, watching it 20 years later after what we watched 20 years ago, yeah, doesn't hold up, man. Doesn't hold up.
Some pay-per-views were garbage back then, but are better now. And some pay-per-views that were garbage back then are still garbage today.
And it's still garbage. And I don't hate you, because we definitely will watch a pay-per-view that is good and look back on it. That's not a problem. I will give you good.
You owe me.
I do owe you. After watching Great American Bash. Well, we watched Great American Bash December to Dismember and the Girls Gone Wild show. So I owe him a good one, folks. I owe him a
3 pay-per-views, people, and they've been garbage, and he hates me. I am convinced he hates me.
No, but it was good with the storyline. Well, first of all, I can say this. Not only will we not watch these shows ever again, but we will never, ever watch the Girls Gone Wild one again. That is a no-no. Not doing it. Dude, I still feel dirty after watching that. I took multiple showers. I did.
Who told Vince that was a good idea?
He was Linda McMahon. They were friends. They wanted to buy Playboy. They were friends. Weird times, folks. Weird times. But we will have good shows to watch going forward. This is another one of the pay-per-view ones. But just to get Daniel's reaction, this was awesome. So we hope you enjoyed our look back at the Great American Bash 2004 and hope we gave you a good timeline of that year and just our overall analysis of wrestling. But next show, what we will be doing is we'll be watching, well, not watching, but discussing the best and worst King of the Rings. I'm looking at you, Mabel.
We're talking about best. We're looking at you, Gunter.
We're talking about best. We're looking at you, Owen Hart.
And Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
No. No. I'm not even going with Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Hey, acknowledge him.
I will. Don Morocco. Looking at you, Don Morocco.
We're talking about words. We're talking about you, Kenny.
Oh, boy. But, yes, we will be discussing the best and worst King of the Rings. And I'm looking at you, King Corbin, with your bullshit.
King Sheamus.
Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn. Oh, man. There's a lot
King
to
William Regal with his power trip. And one of my personal favorites, King Booyah.
So, yeah. We will be discussing the
best. Gave us one of the greatest, oh, hail, King Booyah.
And
then you have William Regal shouting, oh, hail, King Booyah.
And his run was hilarious, though. The power trip and beating Hornswoggle. And we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it.
We are.
So we hope you enjoyed this recap of the Great American Bash 2004. Daniel Crimmins, before we get out of here, I'll have you promote first because you're my buddy. You have the Game of Thrones show with Dazzy and the TSK crew. Talk about those because those are out now.
So Dazzy Lee and I we just wrapped a season of Throne Zone. We recovered the last 2 episodes of season 2 of House of the Dragon. We are on hiatus, at least until season 3. We may do the new spinoff, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We haven't really decided yet. Kicking it with the TSK, we just did a SummerSlam recap. I believe we were doing All In as well. I don't know for sure. I don't know. Is that this weekend or is that next weekend?
2 weeks.
So it's the following weekend.
Yeah.
So we got that. Due to some technical stuff, Pundit's been on an extended hiatus. Should be ending this week. So look out for that to be rebooting. And Mike, what do you have going on as I yeet it back over to you?
Yeet. I will yeet. Yeet.
Or gotta do it right then. Yeet.
Yeet. So you can check me out. StephenMikeShow.com, LFCFights.com, SM Show 1 or MCL92 on the Twitter, Larkin_92 or MLarkinMB on the Instagram, and Mike Larkin 92 on YouTube. 941 subscribers, ladies and gentlemen. We're almost there. We're getting to 1,000. We're getting there slowly but surely. Keep subscribing, keep liking the whole 9. Check out Uncaged, my boy.
Maybe we'll do a live episode sometime.
I am down for that, Mr. Daniel Crimmins. So you can check Uncaged out with Daniel Crimmins and I for our first 4 seasons. You can check out Robert Davis, Nicola, and I on Deep to the Heart of Wrestling, the weekly review with Paul Morales, Steve and I for the Steve and Mike Show, Steve Nicoforo and I, Pop Culture Show. There's some pop culture talk. There's the LFC podcast for Lingerie Fighting Championships. There's On the Mic with Mike, and there's so much more, which you should take a listen to and enjoy because I appreciate each and every one of you as I do you, Mr. Daniel Crimmins. So
we acknowledge you.
I acknowledge you too, sir. So for Daniel Crimmins, my name is Mike Larkin. Thank you for listening to another edition of Uncaged, and we will see you royally in our next episode.
We'll pay you!
I'll pay you!